Thank you everyone for coming. I'd like to welcome everyone to this Henderson County Regular Board of Education meeting. Today is October the 21st, 2019. Thank you all for joining us. We have a full house this evening. First on our agenda is a moment of silence, and we've got a lot of kids in school who have a lot of struggles, so if we could keep those kids in our thoughts and prayers, we would all appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you all. We have a new community relations specialist, Miss Jenny Richmond. Could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Welcome. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nothing like trial by fire. Thank you, ma'am. Moving on to the approval of the agenda. Has everyone had a chance to review it, and are there any changes or additions? Hearing none, I look for a motion to approve the agenda as listed.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Tracy. Thank you, Kirk. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Next on the agenda is the Sesquicentennial Spotlight. Ms. Megan?
Had some pictures that we wanted to share that we have found recently. The first one is 7th Street, excuse me, International Day at 7th Street, and that was taken in 1916. And then the second picture is from 1921, and it is Barrett Flashettes. They won a basketball tournament, and they actually went on and won several games that year. We are continuing our Sesquicentennial throughout the over the next few months, so you can still submit pictures and stories, and we'll be adding them to our files. So thank you.
What year was this picture from?
1921.
1821. Thank you, ma'am. Moving on to student and staff recognition. Ms. Morgana?
Sure, Madam Chair, member of the board, I'd like to recognize our October Judges Scholar this month. And this student is from Bengate Elementary, Abigail White. If she would come forward, please. And Miss Harmon, the school principal. And also Mr. Haynes, if you could come forward and help. We have a Medal of Excellence. And so Abigail White was selected as our Judges Scholar for the month of October. And tell us, Abigail, a little bit about what your favorite thing about school is. And then Miss Harmon's going to share some things about you also.
One of my favorite things in school is math. I love the division problems, and my mom is actually my math teacher. Math is really fun to me. No. Math is really fun to me, and I've enjoyed it for a very long time.
I do want to speak just a little bit about what an outstanding example Miss White is of just an all-around great student. She's been on our academic team and on our STLP team and on our leadership team for the last 2 years. She's also a member of the Owensboro String Orchestra, the Youth String Orchestra, and she's had 7 years of Suzuki violin lessons, so she always entertains us at Talent Show with a violin solo. She's also been on the YMCA swim team for 5 years. She takes ballet and jazz at the Dance Factory, and she has been, and I suspect always will be, an honor roll student. It's a privilege to have you as our Judges Scholar, Abigail.
Fantastic. And congratulations, Abigail. Mr. Haynes has a Medal of Excellence for you that we like to give to our students and staff to honor you in the work that you do in our classrooms. I think you have special guests with you tonight. Who did you bring with you?
I brought my mom, my dad, and my sister.
Would they please stand and be recognized also? Congratulations. All right, could we get a picture? All right, let's do a quick picture. We are very, congratulations, and we are very proud of you. Madam Chair, members of the board, next on the agenda is our Building a Better graduate. North Middle School is highlighted tonight. I think Rick Marshall is here, and he might want to say a few words about how the STEAM and STEM lab is going on at North Middle School.
Thank you, Ms. Stanley and the board, for giving our students the opportunity. They hone real-world skills in our makerspace that will build better graduates. But a picture is worth 1,000 words. This video is going to show many of the activities that our students are involved in that are going to expand their horizons in the future. Hi, I'm Rick Marshall, Media Specialist at North Middle School. Today we're going to take a look at the NMS Makerspace.
Our North Nation STEAM Lab started last fall. Our students and classes can come in for different projects that they may be working on, or if students just have some free time. In our North Nation STEAM Lab, we have things such as Bloxels and Little Bits and Snap Circuits and a big ViewSonic board. All of the items that we chose promote problem solving, uses of technology, programming. Almost all of it is hands-on and cross-curricular between areas like science, technology, engineering, art, math, and ELA. Also, our STEAM Lab gives an amazing opportunity for students to be able to use their creativity, collaboration, communication, and their critical thinking skills. They can work together or individually on lots of individual projects.
My favorite part of Makerspace is definitely the Cricut. The skills we have to use is definitely problem solving and graphic design. Using problem solving will help me in my everyday life, and if I wanted to have a job in technology, graphic design would definitely be helpful. So the Cubelets definitely, the smartboard, and the button maker, you have to collaborate with a bunch of people to get that done.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your leadership, Mr. Marshall, and same with Ms. Johnson. It's good to hear from North Middle School tonight.
Moving on to public participation and recognition of guests. If there's anyone who wishes to speak before the board this evening, if you would fill out a form and bring it to us, we'd be more than happy to hear from you. Sorry. Oh, sorry. She's telling me I forgot to pick my microphone up. Y'all could hear me anyway, right? We also need to recognize our student ambassadors this evening, if they will stand. It is Sydney Hagan, Shadira Chester, and Ellie Martin. Thank you all for coming. Miss Stanley, do we also have a Stuff-A-Bus
Check presentation.
check presentation from Audubon Chrysler and Remax?
Yes, we do. We're very excited about this check presentation, and I see three illustrious ladies in the audience tonight that I would ask to come forward. I'm going to let them introduce themselves and tell a little bit about how they got involved in this project. How about that? Let's do that first.
My name is Donna Phillips, and I'm a real estate agent with RE/MAX. Formerly was a secretary at the Board of Education for 13 years. And with me are Patty Bugg. Patty is a realtor. She is our broker, and she is also a city commissioner. Also, Debbie Kreiner. Debbie is a new realtor to our office, and we're glad to have her with us. This is her first year to participate in Stuff the Bus. We talk about Stuff the Bus? Okay. We started this program 3 years ago. What we do, we stuff the bus with school supplies for children who may or may not be able to. Anyway, okay, I got it.
You can tell she's very passionate.
I am. I'm very.
Just read, honey.
All right.
We are passionate about it.
I am. And I wrote this afternoon, and every time I read it, I start crying. Sorry. Okay. So we try to help ensure that every child that walks into the classroom that first day has everything they need to be successful that school year. Well, we at RE/MAX initiated this program 3 years ago. It really takes a village to get it done. Last year, Audubon Chrysler joined us to help us. And this year, Walmart stepped up to the plate. In addition, it couldn't be done without the Family Resource Center leaders. Are any of them here tonight? Stand up, please. That's you. And also the bus garage employees. Anybody from the bus garage here? Ben, come on up with us. We want you in our picture. Come on up. Ben, oh, I'm sorry. I can't help it. Can't help it. Anyway, the rest of the village includes every child, parent, grandparent, and soul who takes the initiative to buy a school supply or to donate money, scissors, crayons, pencils, markers, paper, notebooks, backpacks, glue, anything the kids might need to start their school year. So from the youngest donator who said to me, "It's for the kids," to the oldest who said to me, "This brings back memories of when I shopped with my child." So that's why I'm emotional. Anyway, it's been a long time for me too since I've shopped with my kids. So this check for $8,274 represents the value of all the items that were donated. And we're happy to report this. This is approximately a 65% increase over last year. And we hope to do more next year.
I think this board owes her a standing ovation.
Absolutely amazing. Ladies, every one of our family resource centers, our students, our principals, all have benefited by the passion that you have for our students. And you mentioned in your words that it takes a village, and the village of Henderson and Henderson County always steps up to the plate when our kids need something. And what a way to kick off our school year with the help and support of our community. Thank you so much.
On behalf of the Henderson City Commission, I just want to say that we talk about it all the time. We all feel like that we have the absolute best school system in the whole state. I have my children who have gone through, and my grandchildren have gone through, now my great-grandchildren who will go through. And I could stand up here and just go on and on and on, but we have the absolute best, and we're so grateful to each of you.
Thank you. Can we do a picture over here by the screen, ladies? Ben and Melissa, make sure you join us.
You all may think that we have the best school system, but we have the best community to back up our kids, and we could not do it without you all. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. 8,000. Oh, sure, I'd be glad to. $8,274. Wow. Got it?
Thanks all for putting up with my
Thank you. Thank you. You did awesome. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Patty.
Thank you all so much. Our next item on our agenda is to approve the minutes from the prior meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review those, and is there any additions or changes? Hearing none, I look for a motion to approve the prior minutes as listed. Thank you. I'll second that. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to reports. The first one is the site improvement project at South Middle School. Mr. Jeff Justice.
Good evening. Pleased to be here on behalf of the design team, Eric Rang from our office, and then John Hagan Codell from construction manager Codell. This evening, brief update on South Middle School. The KDE has approved the construction contracts. The pre-construction meeting was held on site with AVP, and shop drawing process for things like the canopy, for light fixtures and so forth is underway. And thankfully work has actually begun on site, and we'll start regular construction meetings next week. So progress, and we're excited about moving forward on that piece of the overall project. And then moving on to the Jefferson project, we're pleased to report that we've completed multiple design meetings with many of the users, administrators, facilities, gone through all types of the project components such as the HVAC, the plumbing, the electrical, technology, food service, athletics, all of those things. We sit down and feel very comfortable that we've received the information and put those on the plans as requested. We've also gone through and completed architectural material selections, the finishes. We've reviewed those colors with administrators, with principals, and we completed a 3D walkthrough to help everybody understand what the space will feel like. We've also coordinated the bidding documents with Codell, the front end, to make sure that those are all in order, and we've refined the cost estimate. So we're here this evening to ask for you to approve the construction documents so that they can be submitted to KDE. We're also here to ask for your approval of the BG1, which has been revised to reflect the current cost estimate, and the BG3. With your approval, we'll be able to, as I said, submit to KDE. We'll also be able to submit the project to the state HBC so that review can also begin. So certainly there are no major changes from the drawings that you have seen in the DD package, and so this evening I'm simply asking for that approval. However, I don't want to assume that you don't have any questions, and I'm happy to answer any of those that you may have.
And board members, I also believe on item number 8B3, it does show the BG1, the former BG1 that we had for comparison, and the BG3. Has everyone had a chance to look at those? Are there any questions for Mr. Justice while he's here? Any of them? Kirk, Wes, you're good? Tracy, you're good? Okay. So we need to approve the BG 19-068 for Jefferson Elementary, the BG1 for approval. Do I look for a motion to approve that as listed? Thank you, Ms. Tracy. Do I hear a second? Thank you, Mr. Kirk. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to the BG 19-068 Jefferson Elementary BG3, the statement of probable cost. Are there any questions on that item? Hearing none, I'll look for a motion to approve the BG 19 as listed. Thank you, Ms. Tracy. I'll second that. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Madam Chair, I
Yes,
also
ma'am.
request the approval of the board this evening for construction documents for Jefferson Elementary School.
Any questions on that, board members? Nothing else? I'll make a motion. We approve the construction documents as listed. Do I hear a second? Thank you, Ms. Tracy. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Ms. Morgana. The tornado shelter, do we need to go over that? I know we need to prove it. Are there any information changes on that? That's a new item that's added to the school, but it's been in the process the whole entire time, correct?
That is correct. We've shared that the tornado storm shelter will be in the kindergarten area of the school. Just wanted, for your information, the state requires that a third party review the design of that storm shelter, and we have solicited prices, quotes for that work, and we're before you this evening to recommend that we hire a Bacon Farmer Workman, who is a firm that has done this several times before, and that cost us for $4,800.
Any questions regarding the peer review, board members? Ms. Morgana, anything different? Just need to approve it? Okay. Okay. Look for a motion to approve the tornado shelter peer review proposal as listed. Thank you. Do I hear a second? Thank you, Kirk. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Quick work. Thank you, Mr. Jeff.
Thank
Keep
you.
moving forward. Appreciate it.
All right.
Moving on to the Hanover report.
So from Hanover, Madam Chair, members of the board, there are two members tonight. Mary Kate is in front of you, and Garrett is her colleague is sitting next to us. We've had phone conferences with them and talked with them on the phone, and this evening they're going to give kind of a, I don't know, would you say maybe a 30,000 oversight look of how their project sums up. And now that we have the data also, Ms. Cloutier, Ms. Carter, and myself will continue to work to come up with a plan of how to address the data they're going to present.
Ms.
So-
Morgana, can you back up and refresh our memories as to why Hanover is in front of us to begin with?
Sure. The board requested, I think it came from Mr. Waller, and then you all agreed with that we need to look at our classified salary schedule. And so the comparisons were not just from bordering counties, school districts around us, but school districts across the state with similar size of ours and a community similar to our size. And the question posed really was, are we competitive? Are we providing a fair wage? And so they've spent several months doing lots of research for us, and they're ready to show their findings.
Thank you, ma'am. Go ahead, proceed.
Thank you so much. Good evening. My name is Mary Kate Taylor, and I serve as the Relationship Director on behalf of Henderson County's partnership with Hanover. And before we dive in, I just wanted, for those of you who may be unfamiliar with our model and our services, just give you sort of that high-level overview before we recap some of that work. So we're a custom research firm located outside of Washington, D.C., and we work with over 350 school districts across the country on a variety of academic, operational, a variety of different initiatives. And Hanover works through a membership-based platform, so our member districts contribute a fixed annual fee, which provides them with unlimited access to our research staff, as well as the research we conduct on behalf of our other member districts. So we really work with individual districts to address their needs specifically through a variety of different research methodologies, the first being best practices and literature reviews, so being able to synthesize the research on key topics and summarize case studies so that districts can align their decision making with best practices. We also provide data analytics with an in-house quantitative team that works with districts' data to be able to assess current performance, report on key performance indicators, and evaluate student programs and outcomes. We also work with districts to gather stakeholder feedback through custom surveys and analysis. We also can gather that feedback from parents, students, staff, and community members through focus groups and in-depth interviews. Really where we've been focusing our work about the last 10 months is in benchmarking. So what we are able to do is do some comparative analyses to look at your peer and aspirant districts and be able to report on their practices and outcomes. So as I've said, we spent the past 10 months on a multi-phase study comparing Henderson County's classified staff salaries and job descriptions to those of your peer and other aspirant districts. So with that, I would like to introduce my colleague, Garrett Brand, who is going to report on our key findings and recommendations.
Thank you, Mary Kate. Good evening, everyone. Pleasure to be here. Robin, would you mind going to the first slide of the deck?
You can pull that mic out if you need to.
Okay.
Just pull it out if you need to talk to. There you go.
There we go. And I think it's on the last page right now. Great. So as mentioned, we focused on kind of assessing to what extent the classified staff positions, their salaries are competitive, looking at other local districts as well as demographically similar districts across the state. The districts we ultimately looked at all have published information that aligns with the KDE's system of classifying classified staff based on a system of codes that are aligned across districts. So those local districts are Daviess County, Union County, and Webster County. Sorry, my eyes are not the best. And then we looked at the state level, Franklin County, Hopkins County, Marshall County, and McCracken County. So for the local counties, those are the ones that also use the KDE system of classification. Similarly with the state county school districts, these also use the same classification, as well as are demographically similar based on enrollment, percentage of students who qualify for free or reduced price lunch, and the school district's per pupil spending. So we looked at the 104 positions that Henderson has currently listed in its classified salary schedule across the functional areas listed on the screen. The district currently staffs, of those 104 positions, 70 positions. Of those 70 positions, 50 positions have comparable positions across the peer districts we looked at. So the information on the following slides focuses on kind of those 50 positions. Next slide, Robin, please. This is a summary of the peer districts that we looked at. You can see the total enrollment and the percentage of students qualifying for free and reduced price lunch, as well as the per pupil expenditures. One thing to note when keeping, or for the interpretation of the findings that follow, is just that Henderson County's per pupil expenditures is the lowest on this list. So that's just additional context to keep in mind when interpreting the findings of the benchmarking. Next slide, please. So in terms of our methodology, we looked at across these districts, kind of focusing on the minimum, maximum hourly salaries for the job classes or the positions that are currently staffed at Henderson within each functional area. The study comprised of 3 core phases. The first 2 phases, we did a kind of direct comparison only using the KDE's system of classifying staff. So based on the codes that are published at the state level and the salary schedules published by the district. We did a direct comparison based on those codes and the salary schedule information at each of the districts. In a third phase of the analysis, we looked in more detail at the actual job descriptions of these positions to make sure that we were comparing apples to apples. So we looked kind of to see if the specific responsibilities in a smaller group of positions were aligned with those published by the state and adopted by Henderson, with those published by peer districts. One additional thing to note is that we include in this presentation the livable wage published by the Massachusetts Institute for Technology, MIT, based on Henderson County's local data. This is to provide, in addition to the benchmarking component, additional context around what it takes, or the wage that it would take to satisfy basic needs, including housing, transportation, childcare, etc. Next slide, please. On this slide, we have an overview of the findings. In this slide, we actually have the results of the job description benchmarking, which is the third phase of the study. So this summarizes the findings from the 15 positions we looked at in more depth based on the actual job descriptions. Overall, we found that of these positions, they were more aligned than less aligned in general. We were only able to do this type of comparison across 3 districts, those that publish detailed job descriptions. So it is limited in that respect. We also only focused on 15 positions, as this takes more time on our end. But overall, these findings suggest that the broader findings of the study are more likely to be credible, and that we're comparing similar positions across districts and that responsibilities are in fact aligned.
Let me stop you a second. When it says Franklin, on the computer maintenance technician, Franklin, less aligned, we are less aligned than them, or vice versa?
So both. It would be if Franklin is less aligned, the similar position kind of with the position with the same code in Franklin and Henderson, those positions would be less similar to each other.
Okay. In job duties. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Okay. Great. So this is the summary of the actual benchmarking research. What we have here is based on the number of positions within each functional area that are either below or above the average salary across the group of peers we looked at. So for the cells in which it says below, more than half of the positions we looked at had a lower Henderson salary was below the average of the peer group. So as you can see, in general, the classified staff salary schedule at Henderson tended to be less competitive than those of the peer districts we looked at.
Where it says library media would be the clerks that are the assistants to the certified librarian? Okay. Okay.
Any other questions?
Where does our school resource officers, which category?
School resource officers, I think would fall into the security category. Yep. And in this position, we don't get or in this presentation, we don't get into specific positions, but that information is also available. Okay. So in the following slides, we have for each functional area a summary of the results. So we look into the average minimum and maximum wages in comparison to between Henderson and the peer category average. For each of these slides, the number of positions is different. So in the case of food services, there were 5 positions currently staffed in the district, 3 of which are comparable with peers. So the data on this slide is based on those 3 positions for as many peers that have the data available. So you can see that the average minimum and maximum wages are lower than the peer averages. The average difference between minimum and maximum wages is also lower than the peer average. The average minimum wage does not provide a living wage for a 1-person household. The average maximum wage does provide a living wage for a 1-person household and a household with 2 working adults and 1 child. Next slide. And please, if there are any questions around the specific information here, just stop me and I can address those. So for the maintenance functional area, the average minimum and maximum wages are lower than peer averages. The average difference between minimum and maximum wages is higher than the peer average. and the average minimum wage and average maximum wage do provide a living wage for a one-person household and a household with 2 adults and 1 child. And one thing to note is that this is based on 3 positions as one for the comparable positions. Of those, one has a position in 2 of the counties that has an annual salary as opposed to a hourly wage. This happened with 4 positions across the 50 positions, and in those cases, the annual salaries were more competitive than the hourly wage, as you might expect. Next slide, please. In this functional area, the average minimum and maximum wages are lower than peer averages. The average difference between minimum and maximum wages is lower than the peer average as well. And the average minimum wage and average maximum wage do provide a living wage for a one-person household, as well as a household with 2 adults and 1 child.
My S is technology.
That's correct. In the operations department, the average minimum wage is higher than the peer average, while the average maximum wage is lower. The average difference between minimum and maximum wages is lower than the peer average, and the average minimum wage does provide a living wage for a one-person household, as well as the average maximum wage also providing a living wage for the one-person household and a household with 2 adults and 1 child. The average minimum and maximum wages are lower than the peer averages in the personnel functional area. The average difference between minimum and maximum wages is lower than the peer average as well. Both the minimum wage and the average maximum wages do provide a living wage for both of the household configurations. In the transportation department, the average minimum and maximum wages are lower than the peer averages. The average difference between minimum and maximum wages is also lower than the peer average. The average minimum wage does provide a living wage for a one-person household. The average maximum wage also provides a living wage for both of the household configurations. In the fiscal functional area, the average minimum wage is higher than the peer average. The average maximum wage is lower. The average difference between minimum and maximum wages is lower than the peer average. The average minimum wage and average maximum wages both provide a living wage for the one-person household and the 2-person household with 1 child. In the health functional area, the average minimum and maximum wages are both lower than the peer averages. The average difference between the minimum and maximum wages is also lower. The average minimum wage does not provide a living wage for a one-person household, nor does the maximum wage provide a living wage for a one-person, or rather the average maximum wage does provide a living wage for a one-person household, as well as a 2-person household with a child. In the library media department, the average minimum and maximum wages are lower than the peer averages. The average difference between minimum and maximum wages is lower than the peer average. The average minimum wage does not provide a living wage for a one-person household, and the average maximum wage does provide a living wage for both of the household configurations. And note that this is just based on one position. Some of the functional areas had many fewer positions than other of the areas. For the management functional area, the average minimum and maximum wages are lower than peer averages. Average difference between minimum and maximum wages is higher than the peer average, however. The average minimum wage and average maximum wages both provide a living wage for one household, and a one-person household and a household with 2 adults and 1 child. In the security functional area, the average minimum and maximum wages are lower than peer averages. The average difference between minimum and maximum wages is lower than the peer average as well. And both of the minimum wage and the average maximum wages provide a living wage for both of the household configurations. In the instructional functional area, average minimum and maximum wages are slightly higher than peer averages. The average difference between minimum and maximum wages is also higher than the peer average. The average minimum wage does not provide a living wage for one person household, and the average maximum wage does provide a living wage for a one-person household and a 2-person household with a child.
These are not teachers, these are assistants, correct, Ms. Morgana? Because these are all classified. Kindergarten aides and paraprofessionals. Okay.
That's correct.
All right.
Yep. And the instructional functional area included 6 positions that had comparable positions in peer districts.
Also include classified staff working in special education resource classrooms.
In the secretarial clerical functional area, the average minimum maximum wages are lower than peer averages. Average difference between minimum and maximum wages is also lower than the peer average. The average minimum wage does provide a living wage for a one-person household, and the average maximum wage also provides a living wage for both of the household configurations. And this was based on 11 positions, one of the functional areas with more positions relative to the others. And the final functional area, student services, has an average minimum maximum wages that are lower than peer averages. The difference between minimum and maximum wages is also lower, and both the minimum wage and average maximum wages provide living wages for the 2 household configurations.
Like attendance clerks, which classified positions would be under student services? Okay. No, because that's certified. But if there was a classified staff who worked.
So this table is another summary table based on the preceding slides, and we have the difference between the average minimum salaries and the average maximum salaries, as well as the percentage difference. The percentage is based on the comparison to the peer average. So in the case of food services, for example, 94% in the 4th column to the right indicates that in comparison to the peer average, the average classified staff within food services would be making 94% of that salary. And the least competitive and the most competitive areas are highlighted in red and green, respectively. So following these, or based on these findings, we have a series of recommendations for the district. One being consider raising the starting and maximum wage levels for hard-to-fill classified staff positions, particularly those that have less competitive wages than the corresponding positions at peer districts, and especially those wages which do not meet the livable wage thresholds for single adults or 3-person families specified in this report. So those were the food services positions, operations, health, library, media, instructional, and secretarial and clerical functional areas. Relatedly, we recommend the district consider changing employment requirements for technology positions and other hard-to-fill roles by adjusting entry-level education and experience requirements to widen the pool of applicants. Next slide. In terms of additional research to inform the findings from this study, we recommend the district survey current classified staff to determine their levels of satisfaction with working conditions and overall engagement levels, to identify trends in employee satisfaction, early warning signs of attrition, and factors apart from compensation that may improve and affect retention. Similarly, we recommend the district create a formal exit interview protocol for departing classified staff members to help determine the impact that the district salary levels have on classified employees' decisions to leave the district. That concludes the main part of the presentation. Any questions from the board?
Questions, board members? I know there's a lot of data still to go through, and Ms. Morgan, I believe you and Ms. Cloutier are going to peruse this in depth a little bit more and possibly bring back some recommendations to us.
Yes, along with Ginger Carter in HR, we've been working as a team, and Garrett and Mary Kate have been great to answer our questions moving forward. We all know that people are our greatest asset in a a school system. And when we see the findings like this, whether they kind of shock us a little bit, it is certainly, we're ready to sit around the table and now look at, not in general food service, but each job position that we have in the Henderson County Schools that falls under food service, and look to see what we can do to change and adjust where we need to at minimum or maximum. And another recommendation and conversation that we had with the folks from Hanover is the fact that we have an 11-step salary schedule. So what that means is after year 1 you get a little bump, after year 2 you get a little bump, and then you go up to 7, that jumps to 10, 15, and 20, and there's nothing else after 20. Other school districts, we noticed in some of the details they provided, had a 17-step, or it was different than ours. And so, yes, I believe that we would request the board to give us a little bit of time to look at, because we're looking at every classified job description, job that we have, to make this equitable and moving forward. So if that's the pleasure of the board, if that's what you all expect us to do next with the data, that's what we're ready to proceed with.
Mr. Kirk?
Based on our current school year salary schedule, we gave a 2% general wage increase.
Yes, it would have been based on the most recent schedule.
So the current,
And we started this research in January of this year, so it likely would have been the 2018-19 salary schedule.
not reflect the 2% raise. It does not.
I don't think so.
Could adjust those numbers because we pay a membership fee for the year.
So we could, I think, quickly adjust the numbers for Henderson. To get the most accurate data, we would also want to incorporate the newest salary schedules from all the peer districts we looked at, which would take additional time.
Is that, go ahead, is that something the rest of the board, Wes, what do you think? You got ideas about this? If they all raised 2%, then it would be easy. If some did and some didn't, then
I think we can find, right, I think we can find that answer. As long as we're comparing apples to apples in the report that we have, which they did, then we can look to see moving forward, what did Franklin County give this year, what did McCracken give this year,
okay.
and I think we can adjust that.
I don't know, a long time ago.
So more than 5 years.
Oh,
Yes, not been done since
Probably
I've been
more
on the board. I've been on the board 11 years.
Have we done the same kind of benchmarking for our certified staff?
We've done somewhat, I'll say somewhat, not to this detail. I wouldn't say to this detail, but we do, because we belong to the West Kentucky Co-op and the GREC Co-op, they do those for those counties that belong to those co-ops in the certified world. We've not had a printed out report, but we do look at that every year.
I do believe when Miss Sally Sugg was on the board, she did request the information about the teachers, and I believe you went back because we were going through those classifications one by one when we were doing a budget one year.
Could be.
Seems
I
like
don't
we
remember
went
that, but it could be. But it could be.
I
Yes, it could be.
I remember comparing, she was comparing this salary level to that salary level, and I think you went back and got some information to say were we close
I
or
remember
not.
we did that with administrators, like principals, assistant principals,
Maybe that's
principals
what it
with 800 or more students, or
Correct.
things, and we looked at it from that point of view. I do remember that and how that fell out across the
was. Close to that.
areas.
I'll just make this comment. Sometime in the next 12 months, I'd like for us to do this same outside kind of peer review of our complete instructional, all the certified staff.
I would say if you're going to go back and compare to find out whether some other district raised theirs 1% and we did ours 2%, to give you all some more time to do that, that may be bringing all the information back and the suggestions that you all have back. You know, take as much as you can. Don't do it in a month. Do it in 2 months, 3 months, whatever you think, because we want this right. Yes, can do is the updated report, yes, because we don't want to put a timeline on it. We'd rather have the information be correct. Am I saying that correctly, Mr. Kirk?
I would like for us to make sure that our classified staff is well compensated, and then after we have adjusted as necessary, then look at the certified staff.
Okay.
I'll just do one group.
Right, and do the other. Correct, correct. But we want to give this group the time to get this
Yes,
report right
yes.
first, as opposed to doing it on a fast timeline. We would prefer that you do it that way. Okay. Ms. Tracy, did you have any comments? Yes, cool. Okay. Yes, we agree. And Mr. Mike Waller is not here. We will, in his absence, give him praise for bringing this to our attention. And all of our educators across the state, it's becoming more difficult to find qualified folks. And these people are educators. Don't misunderstand me. They work with our students every day, as much and sometimes more hours than our teachers do. So they deserve our respect and equal pay just like everyone else does. Thank you for bringing it.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Moving on to Council of Councils. We have 3 schools this evening: North Middle, A.B. Chandler, 4. North Middle, A.B. Chandler, Bengate, and East Heights. Are we drawing straws? North Middle, you want to go first? Miss Becky, thank you.
First of all, I would like to acknowledge that we have a new program at North Middle School. So tonight we have 4 of our North Nation ambassadors with us tonight. So if they would stand along with their wonderful sponsor, Miss Rachel Tanaka. We have Chloe Chandler, Haley McCracken, Kendall Ralph, and Journey McElroy with us tonight. All right, about our school data. North Middle School earned 3 stars during the 2018-19 school year. We had approximately 814 students that tested in the spring, and this year our enrollment has grown significantly. We are fluctuating right now between around 870 and 890 students. We have several things that we are very proud of at North Middle School. We have added a new elective course called Cadets this school year. This course is a social emotional learning curriculum. It's actually from Second Step, which has been around a very long time, which comes from the Committee for Children. It's based upon 4 units of study. It includes things like mindset and goals, values and friendships, thoughts, emotions and decision making, and peer conflicts. This is something that we're proud of because it goes along with a lot of our mental health initiatives that the district has been working on. We are also continuing a grant that's through Bodvin Life Skills. It's in its 4th year. Previously, that Bodvin curriculum was being taught in our science class, which minimized the instructional time that our science teachers had for regular science standards. So this year we have made it an additional or second elective, and that Bodvin Life Skills curriculum includes personal self-management skills, social skills, drug resistance skills. We've also paired it with some career exploration so that 6th graders get more Bodvin in that class, and our 8th graders get more career exploration in that particular course. Both of those are new courses, and they are both required that every single student take both courses at some point during the school year. So continuing on that mental health, just making sure that our kids are going to grow up to be good people. It's just very important to us. Another thing that we are very proud of in our data is that our African American proficient and distinguished reading scores, they have been holding us back, and they have been increasing, but it has been at a very snail pace. And this year we did see an increase from 33.3% proficient distinguished in our African American population in reading. And this year we scored 46.4% proficient and distinguished. Like I said, it had kind of been, we go up a point or 2 and down a point or 2. So we were very excited to see that increase. School culture has been something that we have been truly focused on since I became principal at North Middle School. We currently celebrate 4 student recognition rallies a year, and it's simply where we celebrate all of their accomplishments during the 9-week period. We have a strong house system in place that promotes a sense of belonging and friendly competition among all of our students, among all of our student houses. This year we have a pirate theme going on, so they're not actually houses but pirate ships. We also are continuing our Alveus bully prevention program. Students have a weekly lesson, and it's just simply a reinforcement of how to treat people and just how to be a positive person and interact with other people in a positive way. And we base a lot of those lessons upon the trends that we see. We give a survey about 6 weeks into school every year, and we take that data plus things that we see on trends each month. And so if there are things kind of going on, we may develop a lesson that will address that in a social situation. We've also worked to strengthen the fidelity to our positive behavior intervention and supports. This year we are operating a school-wide store that is based upon a digital bank account that students have. They earn, hopefully they earn a living wage as they move through their day. If they are making good choices, being responsible, doing the right things, then they earn more points throughout the day. And if they're a little bit on the struggle bus, then they may not earn quite as many. And they can come to the PBIS store. It operates Monday, Wednesday, Friday during their lunchtime, and they can come and purchase a host of different kinds of things. Like we do an extra free dress pass if they can afford it. Now some of them spend all their points almost every week and get all the way down to 0. And then right now we have several super savers that are up to 3,500 points. So just depending on it's life skills. Some days they can't even afford a piece of gum, and then other days they may have saved lots of points to purchase like free dress passes or time in the makerspace, fruit snacks. We do a belt rental if they've forgotten their belt since we're uniform. So just in general, fidelity to that PBIS program, again, working on culture. We definitely have some areas that we need to be working on. Our MAP scores remain fairly consistent in the spring. However, our K-Prep scores did not fare quite as well. Over the last probably 3 years, our math department has seen a great deal of change. We currently only have 3 teachers out of the 9 that I had over 3 years ago that were in that department, and that's been for a lot of things. Some of them have moved on to other positions in our school, other positions outside of our school. Some have done lateral moves to be closer to home. So that's a lot of changeover in one department, and our scores are reflecting that. We know that we need to increase consistency and fidelity to the things that we know work, and that is all about getting people in our math department on board and making sure that they are being consistent. We have a new department chair who is a very experienced teacher. I would venture to say she's probably one of the top math teachers in the state of Kentucky. She is a very high performer, and she is our math department chair this year, and she meets every single week with all of our grade levels, looking at data. We've also gone back to using a digital data board. We used to do like the old-fashioned data boards. We've gone high-tech with our data boards to keep our kids that are apprentice and novice in our sites at all times, according to what they've done on their last assessment. Last year, we also saw a decrease in our students' writing performance. We are increasing the writing performances that we're providing for our students. We saw that they struggled with the purpose of the writing prompt. We felt like some of the prompts that we saw or that the kids shared with us, it wasn't clear what purpose they were supposed to be writing to, so we are working to develop some that are not quite as clear-cut, where it doesn't tell them, am I supposed to be writing an argument here, or what am I supposed to be writing to? Another thing that we saw is that we feel like this contributes a little bit because last year our kids did all of their writing on demand and everything on their Chromebook. And don't get me wrong, it is an amazing device. But at their fingertips, anytime they're on their Chromebook, they have a thesaurus and a dictionary, and it underlines the, if the verb tense is wrong or if the word is misspelled, and then they take a test in a book with a pencil and paper where they don't have all those fancy things, and we feel like having them to do all of their writing last year on their device probably bit us in the rear end. So we plan to do some extra practice using the old pencil paper just to make sure that they are ready. It's kind of like when you're going to have a football game, you don't play inside in the gym all the time and then put them for their first game out on the football field. So we realize that that's something that we need to change.
You have 1 minute left, Miss Becky.
Our plan for improvement simply includes closer monitoring, looking at student work. Our PLC has to focus on data analysis. We are doing digital data notebooks for our students where they are tracking their own data this year. And just also a general closer monitoring of students that aren't meeting the standards through a teacher data notebook. And we have changed up our assessment analysis sheet for this school year. So that's pretty much us in a nutshell.
Ma'am.
Questions?
Any questions of Miss Becky? Tracy? Kirk? No? Mr. West? It seems like that you have realized what your strengths and weaknesses are, and you're working towards those weaknesses, and I applaud your efforts. North Middle has gone through a lot of changes in the last 5 to 7 years, and I see you as consistent. And so
Last year was not my best year, but
Hey.
this is a new year. That's the great thing about being in a school.
it
The new
takes a
year
team.
comes,
It takes a
and
team, and you have a good team, and so
I certainly do.
so you all are working forward towards the students. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much to your site-based council too.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson, for your leadership, and Mr. Easton.
Moving on, Miss Brandy Haley.
Good evening. I have two site-based members with me this evening that I'd love to introduce and thank for coming tonight. So I have Donna Duncan. She is in 5th grade. So thank you, Miss Duncan. And I have Sarah Hambidge. She is a kindergarten teacher. So thank you, Miss Hambidge, for attending tonight. So first, I'd like to begin with some of our celebrations. From the 2018 K-Prep scores to this past May, our writing percentage of proficient and distinguished increased. We looked at our writing plan at the beginning of last year, revised that to make sure that we are building foundational writing skills, starting in kindergarten, moving all the way through 5th grade. And so I think that paid off for us for our writing scores. We've also looked at that again this year to make some revisions so we can step up our writing, so we can continue building those good writers starting in kindergarten and all the way through 5th grade. And so we hope to see some gains in our writing this year as well. We've increased the number of writings per month, and teachers, they turn in a monthly writing folder to Miss Williams, our instructional coach, and myself, and we take the time to look at those responses, those writing prompts, and provide teachers and students with some feedback. So we've upped the game in writing. Our scores did increase last year. Our 3rd grade math, they only had 2 novices last year on their K-Prep scores, and their overall math score for 3rd grade was an 80.21. So very proud of our 3rd grade math scores. 4th grade in math, they also had a very nice overall score of 80.56. So 4th grade did a great job in math. And then 5th grade social studies, they only had 3 novices. So we are proud of those individual grade levels and those individual tests. Just at Chandler, we have a wonderful culture. We're building leadership skills within our students, and that's a positive for us. And our students pretty much lead in any way, any capacity that they can. So, of course, we have some areas of improvement, and one of those is just increasing our percentage of proficient and distinguished in all areas, but primarily in reading. We noticed this past K-Prep's data that our reading was the area that took the biggest decrease, and so we are looking at ways that we can help our students be successful in reading. And so by doing so, Ms. Williams and myself, we are going into all intermediate classrooms on a weekly basis and working on reading strategies to help the teachers, help the students with those strategies. We're focusing on teaching standards. You know, in the past, we've looked at more so the reading series and teaching that from cover to cover. Now we're looking at the new standards and teaching to the standards. And then Stephanie Smith, she comes in and observes our intermediate teachers and provides feedback for them for their reading instruction. Also last year, we reached out to J. Nora Anderson from KDE, and she came in about October to help us kind of move forward with interventions, Tier 2 primarily in the classroom, as well as just good quality instruction. Well, J. Nora has since left the area, and she's moved on and taken a new position. But we've reached out to her replacement, Deidre Hightower, so she's going to be coming in and helping us continue that work moving forward. Our second big area of improvement is our growth, as you can see. So we are looking at individual students and making sure that individual students are making growth. And if not, what is our plan to address that? Because we know that if we're focusing on standards, focusing on moving kids, they're going to reach that target of proficiency. And to address building a better graduate, we are excited that we are now 1-to-1, first grade through fifth grade. So we're excited about that. At the beginning of this school year, I had a proposal for kindergarten and first grade that to have a pilot 1-to-1 iPad classroom. And so Miss Julie Schneider wrote the proposal, and so she started the school year with all iPads for her first graders, doing an amazing job. And then Mr. Bailey came to us and said, hey, I've got these Google tablets. Would you guys be interested? So now our other two first grade classrooms have Google tablets. So we're kind of seeing the difference between iPads and Google tablets and seeing how our students can incorporate that into their instruction. And the plan moving forward is to have one of our kindergarten classrooms after Christmas be 1-to-1 to kind of see how that works in kindergarten. So we're moving forward with technology. And then our ABC Innovative Hub, currently our media center, has been a transformation in the work since last school year. Our PTA has played a huge role in that. They have purchased many, many different things as well as our district. This past summer, they purchased flexible seating as well as new tables and chairs. So now Ms. Tompkins can move around those tables and chairs and make it how she wants it for the different activities that she's doing daily. Our PTA also has recently received a $1,000 grant from the Lions Club, which they're giving back to the school for our innovative hub to purchase additional items for our STEAM lab. And some of the things we're going to be buying is a green screen and just more activities and things that build those critical thinking and collaboration skills for our students. So I just want to end that our school theme this year is success is on our horizon. And I have no doubt that we are doing the work, making the changes needed, that we are going to make this happen this school year.
Thank you, Ms. Brandy. Any questions from board members? You all have a lot going on there, and I know y'all are working forward. We just somehow got to make it click into the data as
Yes,
well.
ma'am.
And I know that's hard, but we appreciate everything that you and your staff are doing.
Thank you. I
Thank you,
appreciate
ma'am, and thank you. Can we have your site-based counsel that's here stand?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving back to, Ms. Harmon for Bengate.
Yes, I'd like to introduce some of our SBDM members that came tonight, as well as a couple of our other faculty. We have Ms. Hannah Hudson, who's our library media specialist on our SBDM team, Ms. Emily Williams, our fourth grade teacher, Ms. Amy Smiley, a second grade teacher, our instructional coach way in the back, Ms. Lindsay Phillips, and our assistant principal, Mr. Chris Powers. So we're so glad that they could come, and thank you so much for coming. So, I think I'm going to hold this. Okay, so of course, one of the proudest things, the things we're most proud of is our 4-star rating. We were so excited to get 4 stars, and we realized that one of the reasons that we got that growth score was because our math growth was outstanding. So we are very proud of our math growth. We had significant growth in math. We also were very proud of the fact that we had no significant gap this year. Last year we were a TSI school. We've exited that status. Very proud of that. We did a lot of things to put things in place so that we would not be a TSI school this year. And I'll go a little bit further into some of the things that we're proud of. We're very proud of our school culture. We have very little staff turnover. We have a staff that is very eager to embrace new things. We are not afraid of changing things mid-course if we need to do that, and we've had to do that often. We tend to have a very challenging demographic sometimes. We have a lot of transients. We talked about that last year. So our goal always, of course, is annual growth, but we have to spend a lot of time on catch-up growth for many of our students. So the fact that our students made so much growth in math is something we're extremely proud of. Our reading scores, while they didn't fall, they didn't really rise as much as we would like them to do, so that will be a focus for us this year. And some of the things last year that we did that we feel made a big difference is, well, for one thing, we took some of our Title I money, and I put another teacher in 5th grade. We had a very challenging group of 5th grade students last year. I think that we discussed that last year. And so we reduced the numbers in the classrooms, and that allowed us to do a lot of individual work and a lot of pushing of those kids. And those 5th grade kids grew immensely, and I think that was one of the reasons. And then the other reason I think that our kids grew so much, we had a lot of discussions at our school about will versus skill. Some of our students who were capable just weren't really performing the way we thought they should, and it seemed to go to a lack of motivation. And so we went to the kids. After our winter map scores came out, we went to kids, and every week we would start with K-Prep talks, and we would have 3rd grade stay, then we would have 4th grade stay, and 5th grade stay. We would talk to them about the importance of their achievement and how that reflects upon Bengate and how that reflects upon them. And it got to the point where they were saying, Miss Harmon, can we have another K-Prep talk, please? You know, so we really went to the kids, and then the week of testing, we went all out. We did a theme, and the 3rd and 4th graders nominated the theme. 5th graders got to vote on that theme, and then the day before testing, we unveiled the theme, and we did a huge pep rally. We have a mountain that we talk about all the time, so they knew that we were not where we needed to be on the mountain, and we've since had another talk about where we are on the mountain, and so they're really excited about that. Some of the things, though, that we are continuing to do is we are continuing to work on reading, and reading growth is one of the things that we know that we need to focus on, but our focus this year, many of our staff have been to a PLC training. We understand the necessity of identifying essential standards. These are things that you cannot go to the next grade without. We did that a couple of years ago. We're refining that even more. Then we're beginning to vertically align those essential standards. We're going to be doing that work some this week, and so that we can find the gaps in the standards. We're making sure that we are teaching standards. We too, a lot like Ms. Haley said, we're trying to get outside the Basel. We are certainly using our Basel reading series, but we are trying to find more and more ways to make that engaging and specific for our students. We are certainly trying to make sure that our Tier 1 is improving. We want our lessons to be rigorous. We want them to be aligned to standards. We are formatively assessing our students frequently, especially in math. I know Ms. Williams does that frequently, and we think that was one of the main reasons for a lot of our math growth. Formative assessments, changing instruction. Formative assessments, digging down on the skills that the students need to learn. Our win time, which is our Tier 2 reteach time, we've been very intentional with that. We did a lot of changes in schedules with special ed so that we made sure that co-teaching teachers had collaborative planning time with their teams. That made a big difference. We don't pull special ed teachers from planning time or from teaching time. It's very intentional. We feel that made a big difference in our special ed scores. We are, in terms of building a better graduate, we have a very active STLP team. They have competed at regionals and they actually placed to go to state. They're learning a lot of technology. They're sharing that knowledge with others. We have several service learning projects that they have done. Last year they did a food drive for backpacks. They've also done in the past bags and blankets for chemo patients. We still don't know what we're going to do this year, but they're working on that. We have many, many STEAM activities that go on during library time. Also project-based learning in several of our grade levels. We have a project-based learning team that is working in all but 2 of our grade levels. In our STEAM activities in the library time, we do everything from bunsies to help with communication and breakouts, digital breakouts, so that students can work collaboratively to improve their communication and critical thinking skills. They're doing coding, they're building voxels, they're doing many of the things that several other of these principals have spoken to. We are using multiple materials, resources, and many, many digital things. So the good news is we're 4 stars. We're not at all complacent. When you get 4 stars, you want to keep 4 stars. So we know that we have a lot of work to do, but we also know that we have a lot of room for growth, both in reading and math. So that's the good news for us. We know where we can go. We know where we need to go. The essentials work that we're going to do will drive that. And so we fully expect to have even more growth next year.
Thank you. Any questions, board members? I did notice a couple things on the other slides towards the end, that you do have 95.5% attendance this past year. And you also had 92.8% good behavior events.
Yes, ma'am.
And that speaks well to the culture of the school as well. So you are getting them there.
Yes, ma'am.
And they are paying attention and doing what they're supposed to do and not getting
We
in
have
trouble.
high expectations.
And I think that is shown in where you have come and
Appreciate that.
from last year. So we appreciate that.
Credit goes to our teachers and our kids.
You have a great team. Thank you.
We do. We do.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm sorry. Beth. Oh, she wanted to know if her staff could stand up, please. The staff that's with you. Ben Kate. There you go. Thank you all. Moving on to East Heights, Ms. Erica.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. First, I would like to recognize all my site-based counsel and my staff that have come with me this evening. Could you please stand? It is a privilege to be here with you this evening representing East Heights Elementary. I'm very proud to represent my SBDM council and the staff on the East Heights team. In the next few minutes, I'm going to tell you a story about where we've been, where we are, and where we're going to go. East Heights is and always has been about creating relationships and exceeding expectations. Students and staff surpassed expectations to meet national standards and were recognized as a National Blue Ribbon School in 2009. Students and staff were proud to be Hawks. Fast forward to the present. We still have the same vision. We want to again be designated as a National Blue Ribbon School. You have some information on the screen before you and in your board packets. At 3 stars, rated by the 2018 K-Prep assessment, I can tell you that I am still proud to be a Hawk. I'm proud because we are still a school that exceeds expectations and school that owns our data. We understand what is behind our 3 stars. We own it all, the good stuff, the areas that need improvement, and everything in between. I'd like to point out our strengths in the category of separate academic indicators. The data on your screen doesn't show all of the celebrations in this area. These strengths didn't happen by accident. We saw much growth and achievement from previous years due to intentional planning and focus in the areas of writing, science, and social studies. This intentionality and focus makes me proud of the hard work of our students and staff. In the area of on-demand writing, our 2018 scores yielded only 26% of our students being proficient and distinguished, while after implementing our teacher-led writing plan this past year, these scores nearly doubled, rising to 46% of our students scoring proficient or distinguished. That's an improvement of 20 percentage points. I'm proud of our 3 stars because of the hard work that is put in every day. It is our staff who continues to put in the work because of the diligence we have already seen in a shift of the overall writing of our students school-wide. Our students at all levels are further ahead than they've ever been in the past in each grade level in past years. You can see a change in their foundation from kindergarten on up. We own our science data too. As I told you last year, we have chosen to create a STEM position as a specials class. Not only does every student have science instruction from their classroom teacher, but every student has a STEM class weekly as well. The results are there. We had a 4.6% increase in the proficiency of our students in science. In addition, we had the largest percentage of distinguished students in science in the district. For the third separate academic indicator of social studies, the pride continues. We grew from 40% proficient and distinguished in 2018 to just under 60% a year later. That's a 20% increase. We expect to grow even more this year as social studies isn't forgotten in the grades leading up to 5th grade. I'm proud to be a Hawk because we know and understand what our areas of focus now need to be. We own our data. Our math proficiency slipped this past year. We were down almost 3% in our number of students that are proficient and distinguished. But more notably, our percentage of novice students is just too high. Our mission at East Heights is all means all. We will all learn and grow at high levels. These scores don't demonstrate that. Our plan for moving math forward includes the implementation of math talks, intentional instructional planning and coaching of math with our math teachers, wrong answer analysis by students, and we are sending a team to participate in the Conceptual Building Blocks Academy offered by the Green River Regional Education Cooperative. We are looking to get creative by finding opportunities to practice math facts with our students during lunch and celebrate the achievement of objectives when completing accelerated math. Before our scores were released and the stars were awarded, as a school, we were already focused on growth. We own our data. As a district, learning targets and success criteria are a focus, and it is the focus of every walkthrough of our EHS administrative team. We are expecting our staff to make it clear to students what they are learning and what they have to do to be successful. Our RTI program is growing stronger as we strive to maximize our resources and the time our staff spends with students who have the most needs. Finally, and to improve in the area of growth, we are no longer going to let our students choose whether they cognitively engage in what is happening in their classroom. As a school, we are looking for true engagement. We will be working to implement cooperative learning through Kagan structures to ensure our lowest students can't opt out. We are going in with the mantra, it's all about engagement. We own our data, the data that goes beyond the stars, the data that should also be mentioned. 100% is the percentage of students that are part of a flock within our school. Our flocks began last year and were assigned randomly, composed of kindergarten through 5th grade students. They are families within our school, and everyone has a place to belong. 6,996 is the number of times students were recognized for following our school-wide expectations during the first 9 weeks. They were caught doing something right. 32 is the number of backpacks of food given out by our Family Resource Center every week to our students that may not know where their weekend meals might come from. That's 288 times a student has what they need to keep them from going hungry. Then there are the things that I can't quantify through stars, charts, or test scores. These are the things you don't want to miss at East Heights. There's that feeling during a morning assembly when every student and staff member stands at attention, pledging allegiance to our flag and reciting our mission in unison. Or the hush that comes over our students as a teacher reads aloud from their latest class novel or from that favorite picture book. They are poised and ready to answer the next critical thinking question that will be asked or laughed at what they discover at the story's end. How about the smiles as the student walk down the hall or greet you in their classrooms? The faces alive with curiosity, bright with joy, and furrowed in concentration. Then there's the creativity, passion, and enthusiasm that abounds in our specials classrooms as those staff members promote the talents of our musicians, our athletes, our leaders, our thinkers, and our scientists. When you count the extras given by our classified staff, the time and talents that aren't reflected on their timesheets, when you add up the support, hard work, and the heart they give to the school, it's immeasurable. I can't count the tears that flow as the buses drive away on long weekends or holidays because our kids want to stay. They love our school and they love our teachers. There's no telling how many hours I'd have if I could possibly count the time on nights, over breaks, and during weekends that our teachers work to prepare for their students. And very significantly, how do I measure the infinite amount of trust and support our students' parents place in us as they send their most prized possessions to learn with us every day? I'm proud to be an East Heights Hawk, where we own our data and are creating a future as we are building better graduates. We are creating students that understand the importance of relationships and doing the right thing when nobody's watching. Students that understand that all means all and that everyone can succeed. They will learn to collaborate, stretch their brains to think critically, and develop communication skills while growing and persevering through their own academic challenges at East Heights. 3 stars are an important measure, and they show you where we are as a school, but they certainly don't tell you where we're going to end up. Thank you for the opportunity to share our Hawk pride. Go Hawks.
Questions from any board members? Thank you, Ms. Erica. We appreciate you putting a human face to a lot of the data that's there. We have to remember that these are students and that these are teachers and people that are working behind the numbers. We appreciate what you do. Thank you to your staff as well. Thank you. Thank you for all the council schools who presented this evening. We appreciate you all and your timeliness. You all did it good underneath the time limits. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. And we wish you all success in the next coming year. Moving on to, there is no old business. I can't speak now. Moving on to new business, we have to approve a FAC-PAC, our guaranteed energy contract. Ms. Cindy?
You've already approved it once, but they rejected it over $1.31, even though we showed exactly what was spent. So Train has given us a credit of $1.31, and this is the revised BG file.
Well, for someone who's all about numbers and balancing down to the penny, you can appreciate that, right, Ms. Cloutier? Okay, I'll look for any questions, board members, about the $1.81? 31, excuse me, $1.31. Thank you. Mr. West, do I hear a second? Thank you, Ms. Tracy. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to the consent agenda, we have a second reading of policy 03.6 pertaining to volunteers, approve grant applications, approve overnight trip request, approve student fees, approve student activity fundraiser and crowdfunding request, approve district planning committee for the comprehensive district improvement plan, approve shortened day for one special education student, approve items for the October 23rd surplus auction, approve a bid recommendation, and approve transportation request. Do any of those items need to be pulled or discussed? Hearing none, I look for a motion to approve the consent agenda as listed. Thank you, Ms. Tracy. I'll second that. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to financial, the treasurer's report. Ms. Cindy?
Treasurer's report for the month of September includes total receipts of $4,412,018 and total expenses of $6,208,248 for a net decrease in all funds of $1,796,230.
Come
which
on.
is common this time of year.
Come on, tax
I always
payments.
like to add that.
Come on, tax payments, right?
Waiting for taxes.
Waiting on taxes. Everybody pay their taxes so the school can get their money back. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I respectfully request your approval of the treasurer's report as submitted tonight by Cindy Cloutier.
Thank you, Ms. Morgana. I look for a motion to approve the treasury report as listed. Okay, have we got Tracy making it and Mr. West second? How's that? Thank you. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to the paid warrant report.
Okay, the paid warrants include the period of September 17th through October 21st for total paid warrants of $2,548,792.42. Any questions on the paid warrants?
Madam Chair, members of the board, I respectfully request your approval of the paid warrant report as presented tonight by Cindy Cloutier.
Any questions, board members? Hearing none, I look for a motion to approve the paid warrant report and pay the bills. Thank you. I'll second that. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Please pay the bills, Ms. Cindy. Be it noted that we have also received personnel actions. No action is needed on that. Ms. Tracy, being you don't have any competition, do you want to make a motion to adjourn?
Let one of them do it, but I will.
Oh, go get on with it, yes. And Mr. Kirk's going to second that. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate your time.